Welcome to another video, Aquarius. In this video, I'll show you my quick low-tech build of a 10-gallon planted tank. I wanted to keep this one simple, although I'm sure as time goes by, like all of us, we're just going to end up adding more stuff to it. However, in this one, I wanted to start something really quick and cheap, so stay tuned and watch the build. For this build, we use a simple 10-gallon tank, which I painted the background black with paint. Unfortunately, I lost the footage to that process, but you will see the tank in a little bit. For the rest of the substrate, I'm going to be using two types here. I plan on having an area in the back half of the side of the tank as a planting area that leads into a beach area. For the planted areas, I will be using Eco Complete, and for the beach areas, I'll be using Carbon torpedo sand. This I found out later to be a pain in the butt, as the Eco Complete tended to drop into the beach area when cleaning the tank, so that was kind of annoying. Having black gravel on top of white seems a little messy. I also added a simple thermometer that I got from Amazon that's not shown here. For the heater, I'm using a Tetra HT10, which should be more than enough for this tank. However, I didn't do my research and found out when I opened the box, the temperature was already preset. This irked me a little as I preferred to be able to control the temperature in the tank. This is some simple media mesh bags. I'll be using lava rocks in the filter as my biomedia. I have this Penguin 125 hang on the back filter lying around from years ago. They don't even make this model anymore, but I figured it's something to get this tank started. I'm also not normally a hang on the back kind of filter guy and prefer canister filters instead. I did end up switching over to a canister filter 4 or 5 weeks later. For lighting, we'll be using the Phoenix Stingray. Now I love these lights, and LEDs have come a long way since 13 years ago when I was in the hobby. This has power rating listed, so it was easier to make this decision to purchase one, as I have no clue what the other ratings would be for the cheaper models like the stuff that's made in China. First, I added torpedo sand. This is to be the beach area of the tank and basically the open area. I decided that the planted area will be in the rear right side of the tank. Now I'm adding Eco Complete. I get both areas about 1 inch high. Some people use dividers to build up 2 or more separate areas of substrate, but I didn't see that I needed to do that here. To get a divide going on between the two areas, I'm going to use some large rocks I found at one of my local fish stores. These have been soaked for a few days before doing this build. One of the rocks I wanted to prop up, so I just used more Eco Complete and a smaller rock to get it standing correctly. I chose a couple of smaller rocks to make an island off to the center of the beach area, just for the heck of it. If I don't like how it turns out, I can always change it up later. Using water from a cup, I washed off some of the substrate that was stuck on the rocks and used an aquascaping tool to tidy things up a bit. picked up 3 pieces of driftwood from my local fish store that looked good to use. I wanted the wood to jet out from the planted areas. It took a bit of fitting and adjusting until I got it the way I wanted it to. I also ended up taking one of the pieces and just placed it next to the island, as I just found that there was just too much wood in that area. After finding the right setup for the driftwood, I took each one out at a time and stuck Java moss on them. I did this simply by super gluing the moss onto the wood. Once satisfied with the Java moss placement, I went ahead and used some rubber bands to anchor the Java ferns to the wood itself. After the Java moss and ferns were added to the wood, I placed the driftwood back into the tank and proceeded with the rest of the planting. Here I'm adding 2 Amazon compactus swords. The next plant you see here is the newest Batari Nana. I placed one of them in the front and one in the back of the planted area. Now I believe the next plant I added was a tiger lotus, though I can't remember exactly what it was. In the forefront, I added some dwarf Sagittaria as well as that little area in the back. I also found a couple of open areas for some cryptochlorine wendtii. Now time to fill up the tank. Using a pump from a bucket, I pump up the water using my fingers to try and keep the flow from disturbing too much of the substrate. When the water got high enough, I clipped the hose to the rim of the tank and took this time as it fills up to trim up the Java moss on the driftwood. Once the tank was filled, I put the filter together. I used a mesh bag and filled it with lava rock. Now I ditched the cartridge that came with the filter. I added the bag to the compartment and then installed the bio wheel. Having 2 biofilters running is always a good thing. One thing not shown on this video is that I cut a strip of coarse foam from a fluval package and inserted it where the water flows into the compartment, into the lava rock biomedia. I'm using this as my mechanical filter. This will catch any detritus that the filter will suck up. Once set up, I added it to the tank. Later, I would slide the filter over to the left side of the tank instead of having where it's sitting in the middle right now. This is the tank once it was completed. As always, changes were made after the fact. A day later, I found that the plants were just too clumped up together and it was just too cluttered. I took out one of the Amazon compactas and the tiger lotus. I did make a huge mistake in which I placed the lotus down in a tray and completely forgot about it until the next day. So it just kind of died on me. Here's the tank a week later. By this time, the water's cleared up. Another change was that I added the Rutalia indica in the back. Also, to help cycle the tank, I added 2 of the 4 horsemen to the tank. The 4 horsemen is the 4 longfin danios I have in my plant grow out tank that I normally use for such occasions. I call them the 4 horsemen mainly because these guys are really hardy and they love running around the tank causing havoc, sometimes uprooting plants. I skipped filming week 2 here, so here's the tank by week 3. By this time the tank has cycled quicker than usual it seems, but I attribute this to the plants. Either way, the water test shows all clear. So at this point, I moved the 2 danios to my Duchess tank to cycle that one, and I added 4 mono shrimps and 6 pygmy corydaluses. Also, you can tell the algae is starting to grow, in which is to be expected. I'm not too worried about it as it's going to happen. At week 4 is when things got a little interesting. A few days before the filming, I added 3 autos to this tank, auto syncluses. Now, I should have trusted my instincts. The place that I went to that I've been going to get dry goods had tons of fish selection. However, I noticed how awful the tanks were kept. I saw dead fish in some of them, but I decided to take a chance. That was my mistake. In the next 2 days, the autos died off, and then my pygmy started to die off. At first I was wondering maybe I was adding fish too quickly or maybe it was the pH. My tap comes out to be around 7.6 pH and maybe I introduced the autos too fast to the tank itself. But then the autos in my grow-out tank started to die as well. Luckily it was just the autos and 2 of the 4 horsemen in that tank. The daniels were fine, but I'm down to 1 auto now in that tank. Maybe it's the pH, maybe not. In that tank the pH is usually 6.2 because 6.2 to 6.4 because of the CO2 I'm running in that tank. I've also been testing the waters and the waters look fine, so I'm really just, chalking it out as this place just having bad fish. All the ammonia, the nitrates, and the nitrites are 0 across the board. The amount of shrimps though in this 10-gallon tank is doing absolutely fine and are active and all over the place. So I don't think I'm going to go back there and buy fish or anything in the matter. The cages for the other livestock they had there, like the birds and rodents, were pretty dirty as well. And living in Los Angeles, there's tons of places I know and trust to buy my fish and pet supplies. Also, the reviews for this place on Yelp wasn't all that great either. So lesson learned, I guess, at least for this place. But who knows, it could have been me. Thanks for watching this build, guys. Sub if you haven't already so you get cool updates about this tank as well as the other tanks that I'm setting up. Have fun with your aquariums and I will see you soon. Talk to you guys later.